Big Al Podcast with your host, Al Bishop, unfiltered and uncut.
Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. I'm joined today by the bantamweight champ, JP Bays. Welcome, bro.
Thank you.
Happy New Year. Yeah, your pleasure, man. Obviously, it's the start of a new year. I think on your side, what broke news was the unification bout with Lutando Biko coming up. We saw you saying you were in camp, so we're waiting to see exactly what was happening. We know there's international bouts that you're trying to get lined up, and we saw you with Brave and stuff. So just talk us through, man. Obviously, well, first off, what did you make of Lutando Biko's performance to win that interim title?
Well, let's start with myself first. We put him on the second hand. For me, pretty much, I always break the silence of getting people involved, asking them who they want me to fight, when they think I'll be fighting. And then in that sense, the people will get active and they'll follow my social media but a little bit more. And then all of a sudden the fight news comes. So it's never just like, bam, get the guys on fight news. It's always like trying to reel them in a little bit.
Sure.
But then at the same time, for me, we speak of camp, but that's just the time period we prepare for a certain individual. Where me and the rest of my team, we don't actually believe in camp. It's pretty much all year round. We train every day to get better. But once you have a fight, you train to beat that opponent.
Sure.
But other than that, we pretty much on everyday life, we do the same thing. We train, we get better, and that stays that way. And then on the second question, going to Biko, no disrespect to him as an athlete. He's a great athlete. He's done very well for himself. But man, I must say, watching his and Cal's fight, I sat there and I was bored out of my mind. Like, that's no disrespect to him.
Sure.
That's what he had to do to win the fight. But I mean, Cal came out of the fight looking the same way as before he even warmed up. He had one small bump on the eye, but he looked more tired and drained after his warm-up than what he did in the fight. But that's no disrespect to Lutando. Like, he did what he had to do to win the fight. All I'm saying is I was bored out of my mind, and I bet plenty other people felt the same way.
Yeah, it was a very, very strange fight, and it was one of those where, you know, unfortunately it was going to be a ground out by Lutando. I think he had chances where he maybe could have looked to finish, and he seemed to kind of play it safe.
You know, I feel that often, and myself, we look at Lutando and we say, he should try finish the fight a little bit more, or he should try this. But what we don't understand, that things that I only have been realizing now, is that body structure plays a big role in things. Like, if you take an individual like BK, he can grind people out a lot, he can hit people, they drop, he can ground and pound them, but the ref doesn't stop the fight because he doesn't think it's hard enough, or he doesn't think he does enough damage. But 8 clean shots is 8 clean shots, or whatever the case is, you know. Like, you can't take someone that weighs 100 kilos that punches a guy 8 times like this, you stop the fight. But you get a guy that weighs 50 kilos, he literally throws his arm off, but you don't stop the fight. But I do think body structure, like Lutando, maybe he doesn't like taking backs with hooks in, or maybe he doesn't try doing this or that because his body structure doesn't work out. But he did what he had to do to win the fight.
Okay. You mentioned BK is obviously a good friend of yours, training partner, and somebody who's got a win over Lutando Biko. And it was that was a pretty good fight. It was fast paced, it was high energy. I think BK looked tremendous in that fight. I think it was Lutando Biko's debut in the EFC.
It was.
Yeah, it was a great fight. So how much insight do you get from that? Obviously, you've got a training partner, a good friend that's fought your next opponent. Are you taking a lot away from that, or you're getting a lot of insight into, or is it stuff that you already know already? Like it's
you know, like I've done multiple travels overseas, multiple training camps, and every time I come back, people say to me, how was it training with this guy? How was it with this guy? And as if this guy is made of gold or whatever. But at the end of the day, there's only one way to throw a jab. There's only one way to throw a kick. So to me, I look at it as pretty much the same stuff. But what you got to look at is the way the individual does it. So with BK fighting him, BK having the win, I get lots of inside information. But at the end of the day, is Biko gonna come the same way to fight me? You know, it's different styles, and like I said, it's with different body types. Maybe Biko battled to get a single leg on BK, but maybe he's trying to get it on me. So to me, I just look at what that guy is good at, what that guy is bad at, and then I look where I'm good, and I get better at that. So if he is good at running around and getting a good pace, then I'm going to take this time to get myself better than him in fighting with a good pace and running around. Because then if he tries his best tool in his toolbox, and that is to run around and make me tired or whatever, and I'm better than him in that thing, then mentally that's going to break him. If his best move is to come and throw me with a hip throw, and I go in there and I throw him with a hip throw, then in his mind he's like, oh shit, I'm in trouble. Like, he caught me with my own things. So I'm obviously very fortunate to train with BK, who has a win over him, but I also have Devin, who shared the cage with him. Devin lost, but I have two minds that felt his intentions and stuff.
You mentioned your abilities and where you see weaknesses and where you see strengths in yourself.
Yes.
In your last fight, look, I'm sure most people would agree that it was so quite closely. There was a clear-cut difference in your hands.
Yes.
It just seemed like a world apart. Like you had grown immensely into almost, like we can say, like this world-class striker. I mean, I was sitting watching, Jesus Christ, what is going on here? You know what I mean? Like your hands just seem to have come on in leaps and bounds. And obviously, like, I don't think a lot of people realize it's one thing gaining those new tools, and it's also having the confidence and ability to put that to the test in a big fight, in a big international fight. It speaks leaps and bounds to your training, where you are mentally, how you're feeling, like how your confidence is and stuff like that. So have you been, you know, I listened to something the other day, they were kind of saying, like, obviously you come from a wrestling background, and if you, like they say, a lot of wrestlers fall in love with their striking, you know, and then they forget about wrestling, and they start getting worse at stuff that they were actually good at. You know what I mean? So how does that structure out for you now? Obviously, well, I don't know if you agree with me saying that your hands have come on in leaps and bounds. The striking is just looks worlds apart from where you were 2 years ago. You know what I mean? So what do you attribute that to? Obviously, I know you're going to say Richie Kwan, but I mean, it's the hours and all of that being put in.
Yeah, you know, like you say, the main thing for me is not the skill set, it's actually having the confidence of implementing that skill set. Like, you can throw the most amazing combos in the gym, but to actually have the confidence to try that combo in a fight, that's where it comes in. But of course, in the last 2 years, I've bettered myself. I've been working with Rich, and it's just hours on the mat. But I think just as a fighter, I broke through and I was like, wow, throw the combo. What's going to happen if I miss? Okay, I might miss the combo and we'll make contact, but I got to give myself credit in my wrestling. I got to give myself credit. So I think I've just accepted the part where if things go wrong, I'm still able to use a different skill set to capitalize on.
Sure. And that's confidence again, because it becomes a confidence in, okay, if I open up an opening against another wrestler who's going to take me down, okay, maybe his wrestling somehow is a bit better, but is his jiu-jitsu better? If I'm on my back, am I going to be able to get out? And all of that starts to become like a big pool of confidence. So you're not scared to like give up openings if that happens.
You know, the thing is, I've been overseas, like I said, multiple times, and I've trained with everyone. I've trained with UFC champions, with jiu-jitsu champions, and when I'm on the mat, I don't feel a difference. If I go with the best in the world and I go with my teammates, I still get the same tired. Guys still grab on me the same. They still hit me the same. Like I said, it's the same thing. So for myself, I just went like, okay, mentally, why am I putting these guys higher than myself? Why do I go and say this American guy's wrestling is better than mine? Why? Is it actually better? No. Because when we scramble, I out-scramble them. When we box, I outbox them. So I got to give myself that confidence. I got to see them as not like they're not better than me, and I got to just keep telling myself that in my mind. Because once we go, oh damn, this guy is from this place or this place, then we get a fright. For example, Lutando Biko, I'm fighting him next, and I'm fighting him next, and he's from Chris Bright's gym, which is known as one of the best BJJ gyms. But I'm a wrestler now. Should I take credit away from my BJJ?
Yeah.
No, I train just as much BJJ. So if he wants to grapple me, let's grapple it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel that currently there's anyone better than me, and I gotta just stick to that.
Yeah, 100%, man. So, discuss your last fight. Obviously, that was for Brave, and I think this is like obviously going to be a lot of questions that people want to know. A lot of people were asking me about, you know, when I put it out at the beginning of the year, who do you want to hear from? Who do you want to speak to? You know, on the show, and your name came up a lot. And a lot of that had to do with what happened at Brave and what transpired. So the question is obviously let's talk through that fight if we can. For most people, I don't even know if people really know what actually happened there. It was DQ in the end.
Yes.
Against Gamzat for an illegal strike. So just talk us through that fight. I mean, obviously it was a hell of a fight. It was back and forth. I think you comfortably. I think it was the first round that you took quite hands down. You made a bit of a comeback in the second round, and then the illegal strike. And I think that was the saddest part. You didn't get to see how that was going to pan out. Because, like I say, you just seemed to look on a whole new level. You know what I mean? And it was amazing to watch. And it was an amazing fight. It was back and forth. It was technical wrestling. It was great stand-up. I mean, he obviously looked like he was hitting quite hard, and you were managing it just fine. So just talk us through the fight a little bit on your thoughts, like from start to kind of where the legal strikes happened.
You know, with that fight, I literally got taken, and I got put in the deepest end.
Yeah.
Like, people want to look at a division, and they'll go, where's the deepest end? And you ask any other person, they're going to tell you, oh, the champion. But it's not always the champion that's the best athlete in that division. The champion might have just gotten a better route or better timing or started first, and he has the title. But during the time, there's other athletes and there's better fighters. And I personally think that Brave took me and put me in the deepest end, which were their best athlete, which is Gamza. And there was just some discussion about opponents. I had one opponent, he pulled out. There was discussions on other opponents. It didn't happen, and it actually ended when I was in Abu Dhabi with Chad. I got the message from them, and they said it's Gamzat, this Russian, and that's the only name. Either you fight or you don't fight. And you know, like we went and we had a look at him. And we're like, okay, it's a Russian. There's this whole big thing happening about Russians. But why is this whole big trend going on? Because everyone speaks about Khabib.
Yeah.
But they're not Khabib.
Yeah.
The same thing happened with the Irish. Everyone blew up because of Conor.
Yeah.
But all the others aren't as good as Conor. But why do we put them on the pedestal? So we looked at that fight and we're like, okay, this guy, yes, he's good, but he's actually not that good. Like, how can he actually beat me? And we probably, like, we worked a lot on wrestling defense. We thought that he was just going to wrestle, try grind me, just hold on to me. And you know, that's exactly what happened. He just wanted to hang on me and hold on to me. But like we said, that's a game plan. We looked up all these things. There wasn't really any threats. Like, okay, his wrestling is good, my wrestling is good, but there's more to it than just wrestling.
Yeah.
The first round came, we took the fight. I'm talking about the round. So we took the fight, and then we came here, and then the day before I actually got my contract for the fight, Don signed his fight. So let's say Don signed today, I literally signed tomorrow morning. But by the time I signed, Don already asked myself and Rich to go corner him in Canada. We said yes, and then the next morning I was like, okay, I can't go with Don anymore. I gotta do my own thing.
Yeah.
And I couldn't expect Rich to not come with me. That's the biggest fight. Plus, Don already told him about his fight. So obviously myself and Chad got on the plane. We went into the darkest space. We went into Pakistan, where it's not known for fighting.
Yeah.
It's
not in
known,
a cage anyway.
It's not even known as a proper place to actually go to. You ask anyone, hey, you want to go to Pakistan? There's going to be hesitant. So they put us in Pakistan against a wrestler. Plus, I didn't have my main tournament with me, except for Chad. But at the end of the day, we can't always pick who we want to fight, where we want to fight, and when we want to fight. So we took it, went there, made the best of it, got to the hotel. So people always just see the fight, but there's a lot more to happen. Got to the hotel, there were struggles with the sauna, battling with food. There was no specific catering for my diet, so I was sitting there. So for literally the last 5-6 days up until the fight, I eat two eggs each sitting. But if I tell you the eggs weren't great at all, I would rather stay hungry. So I literally went there to the place, ate two eggs twice a day and some nuts. I got my weight down, but it's not the right things. It's not the right fuel you need. But we got it done. We got our hydration in, and the fight was up on us. We took the fight. We got there to the venue. Very, very different to what we used to, but these are things we got to learn through. So got to the venue. It's time to fight. I warm up, and we asked them, we say, listen, what's the thing? Because I'm on the main card. Is there a break? Is there no break? No, there's no break. We go straight through. Maybe 2 fights before mine, I'm ready to walk out. I've done my full warm up. I put my headphones on as my ritual. I put headphones and a blanket on, and I do my own thing. All my work's done now. I got to get myself calm to go fight. They walk in. No, there's now a 30-minute break. So we're like, okay, well, there's nothing we can do. Now I cool down again, sit around, start. Now I have to start with my warm-up again, get firing. But now I got to get firing, plus have my time to get my heartbeat and everything down. But now we have half the time or quarter of the time. Got all of that done, got in, we had the fight, and I felt great in the fight. Like Chad did all my all my dietitian work and everything. I felt great. He was there with me all the time, made sure everything was good.
Yeah.
We got in the fight, we fight, first round done. I get to Chad. Chad says to me, everything's perfect. He says, you're beating this guy everywhere. I'm like, okay, cool. He gives me water. He says, the only thing I want you to do more is change the levels. More fakes, more body shots. I go in, I do that. Comes out. He's 1 round down. He comes in a little bit more hungry. He wants to wrestle the whole time. So he gets me against the fence, but the fence isn't pulled tight. The fence is quite loose. So every time I would get against the fence and defend, it would feel like I'm actually sitting into a beanbag. So I'd sit, but now he's not doing anything. So I'm slapping him on his ear. I'm trying to knee him. I'm trying to do something because he's holding me in this beanbag of a cage, and I'm just sitting there. And I'm just trying to be active because otherwise I'm busy losing the fight. So I throw a knee, I get taken down, whatever the case is. And there's a get up we do from a single leg when you're at the bottom. And I sit there and he hits me with 1 or 2 illegal strikes. The ref warned him for it. The ref warned him a second time for it. And Chad, we were right in my corner. Chad told me to do this one technique that we have, that pretty much when I go for the technique, I'm pretty much covered. My face is covered, my body is covered. There's not really much striking space for the opponent. And I then got a little bit laxy-daisy with the body. He started elbowing my body. Then I was like, okay, shit, now I gotta get back to covering myself up so the ref can stand us up. Or he's gonna have to make enough space to hit me either in my face, in my body, and that would give me time to wrestle up. But while I was covering up, like, he took his time, and then he literally elbowed me a few times behind the head. So he elbowed me behind the head, and I was dazed. I was quite out. But I was quite back into it. But the ref then stopped the fight. The doctor came in, and the doctor had a white glove on, was asking me questions about fingers, and in my opinion, if something happens, if you get kicked or kneed in the groin or illegal, you get 5 minutes. So I got hit. I didn't get my 5 minutes or anything. Like, the ref was on me the whole time. The ref, and not the ref as much, but the doctor was like in my face the whole time, crumbling me against the fence and not giving me space or anything. And I'm like, listen, like, I can't see what you're showing me. Like, he's asking me how many numbers. I don't want to just take a guess and then it's wrong and then they stop the fight. And I'm trying to get time for him to give me 5 minutes, but he doesn't, and he stops the fight. And at that point, I sat down. I didn't know whether I have won the fight, lost the fight, no contest. I didn't know any of that. I sat down, and I was sitting down waiting for Chad to come in, and then I was be like, listen, so what's the result now, whatever. And then Khamzat started attacking me again. They were like, keep screaming to me, like, fight like a man, don't be a bitch, don't be a bitch. I'm just sitting there, like, there's nothing more at that point I can do, you know? I can get up and be like, yeah, listen, like, don't do this, or I can go back at fighting, but it's stopped, it's done. Like, what's the point on making a scene? Like, we're professional athletes, we have kids looking up to us, we have sponsors that pay us. So there's nothing much I could have done at that point. I just sat there and I looked at him and I was like, okay, like, you behave yourself like that. Like, I'm sitting, and Chad came in, he tried like attacking me. Chad like bumped him away. And then when Chad bumped him away, everyone ran at us. And there's multiple stories of, oh, JP couldn't continue fighting, but as soon as shit hit the fan, JP jumped up. So, like, while I was sitting there before Chad bumped the guy, like, I was like, okay, this guy's doing this, but why must I go and react in an ugly manner?
Yeah.
So I just left him to do his thing. Chad then stopped it. But then when everyone ran at Chad, I had the option of, okay, sit there and watch your friend get beat up, or jump up and we're both gonna get beat up.
Yeah. This was my argument for people that were saying that. They were like, but from 1 minute you're sitting to jump up standing. But you know, it's what I try to say to people is, you cannot understand the situation yourself if you're not there. You cannot be like, okay, I would have done this, or I would. It's like when people say, oh, if someone comes into my house, I'm just gonna knock him out and tie him up with a cable tie.
It's the same type of people that sit next to the cage and like someone is at the bottom and they're like, get up.
Yeah,
it's easier said to just get up. Like, you're not giving him the right cues and technique to actually get up.
Exactly. So it's very hard if you're not there to say, this is what should have happened, this is what you should be doing. And
there's lots of argument from 1 minute sitting to 1 minute jumping up and wanting to fight. I was sitting, the guy was on the other side of the cage, he ran at me. I was still sitting. Like, my part of fighting was done, the ref stopped the fight. But now, number one, I can sit, Chad stopped the fight, and now they can come hit us both while we're sitting. Or they can run at Chad, bump Chad, and I can jump up and try help. Like, one or two things are going to happen. If you 2 guys and they 10 guys, if you sit and stand, they're going to beat you up.
Yeah.
If you jump up, they're going to beat you up. So I can either sit and be an easy target, or I can jump up and like just try to do something.
Yeah.
So the whole point of what guys saying that, like, that doesn't fuzz me. But after the fight, I came back. I went to the doctors. I was badly concussed. I would ride at night and like I would get night blind I would get like car sick and nauseous of the lights. I'd have headaches. I didn't train. So basically since then until this year, I took off completely. I didn't do anything. I just took off, gave my brain enough rest. I'm 22, like, what's the rush? Like, I don't want to one day be 30 and get rocked by a jab, you know? So, like, I took the time off. I, like, reset it. and like I'm back at it now. So now I'm at it for EFC, but yeah, like saying that I was actually supposed to have 2 more fights with Brave, but I just didn't feel comfortable competing for them. Like it's easy to go out and fight. It's very easy to go out and fight, but now I gotta go out and fight. But these people are looking at us funny. These people are making like saying ugly things to us. These people are like making us feel awkward. These people are making me upset while I'm cutting weight. I'm still in danger. Like there'll always be those things in your mind where you don't want to actually go and fight with that in your mind. You want to go compete at your best. So I took the time. I got a release from Brave, and yeah, now I'm signed to face Pico.
So at this moment you are released from Brave, and you'll be focused with the EFC.
Yes.
Okay, 100%. Obviously, it's a unification bout up next. Do you have any other plans up for the year? Is there other guys that maybe you want to face afterwards, or what's your general plan?
Yeah, like there's always other guys that like at some point they like do something that puts you off or some kind of thing. So there'll always be that point where you want to fight someone. Whether it's the right time to fight that individual or not, you won't know until it happens. But right now I'm set to fight Pico, and like I'm not overlooking anyone, but after Pico, who is there for me to fight? Like, okay, who's a top dog? We look at Faiz. You know what I mean? No disrespect to Faiz, but I put him on his back and choke him.
Yeah.
It's a waste of my time. It's a waste of his time. Yes, I'm gonna get the money and I'm gonna look like a great guy because I beat him. But people are gonna go on my record and see, oh, Khamzat, you fought a Russian top wrestler. Then okay, you went and you fought Lutando Biko, a Commonwealth judo champion, and then they're gonna go and they're gonna be like, okay, you fought this Uber driver. But he's not on the same. He's not on the same skill set. You know what I mean? Like, yes, he's done really well for himself, but I just don't think he's on championship level yet. If he wants some of this, I'll give him some after Biko, but I just don't think he's ready yet.
All right, 100%. The next thing is we obviously asked some people online to send through some questions. We'll just get through those quickly.
Okay.
The first one is from Damon Archery. He says, how do you feel about what the Russian guy did to you? That's obviously what we were talking about now. Yeah, I don't know how you answer that one.
What do I feel like it? What he did. But you go look on his record for the rest of his life, he has the loss. You go look on my record, I have the win. What he did wasn't nice, but it's the past. Like, people do ugly things on a daily basis.
Sure.
But it's in the past. You gotta forgive and forget. Khamzat is behind me now. I got the win. Maybe in the future we'll share the cage again, and then we'll settle the score on what he did, what I did. But right now it's behind me, and I just try to look what's ahead of me.
Sachin Ganjak on Instagram wants to know, how do you prepare mentally for a fight whilst handling your everyday life?
Mentally for a fight, it sometimes it gets a little bit tough because you're tired, things that you work on don't work out, and you draw this one thing so much, but to put it in a life thing is difficult. But at the end of the day, it's my teammates. They know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's going to work out, you're going to catch him. Sometimes he's going to expect that you're not going to catch him. So sometimes mentally things get to you. But to answer his question, how do I prepare mentally for a fight while living and handling everyday life? I think for myself it's a little bit easier because my everyday life is actually fighting.
Yeah, sure.
So for me to deal with this mentally and train, that is my everyday life. I don't really deal with other things outside of this except family time.
Okay.
So that makes it a little bit easier.
easy enough. He wants to know what was the biggest challenge preparing for the Contender Series in the US, and why he asks that question was he mentions Richie Kwan said that they were on my show before, just as that fight was happening, that there were a couple of conversations in your preparation for that fight. So that's what he wants to know.
You know, the Contender Series was great. It was probably one of my greatest achievements up to date, other than winning the titles. Being one of only few South Africans to actually compete in the tough house, the tough gym, it's really big for me. But the preparation was a bit tough. I wasn't actually in the States or went to the States to actually fight in the Contender Series. I actually went there to fight same night as Chad on GKO against an opponent named Josh Piver. Then I was there training, I sparred the top guys, and then Uriah came to me and said, listen, I want you to meet Dana. And this was like a week, 2 weeks before I was actually supposed to fight GKO. I went out, met Dana, not having a work visa or anything, not thinking that anything would come from there. Met Dana, left, spoke with Dana, and Dana literally said to me, we told him that I had the upcoming fight at GKO. He's like, okay, you young, you have lots of time, go have that fight, win that fight, and we'll talk again. And I left the UFC office that day like that, just to 1 hour after I left to get the call that I'll actually be fighting sooner. So I got the call from them saying I'm a fight on the Contender Series, but now it's a week later than where I was supposed to fight. So Chad did his whole weight cut. My weight was like a bit in jeopardy because I was busy cutting weight, and then I had more time, I ate more. Then actually I was like, okay, but I don't have that much more time, so my weight was a bit like up and down, different opponents, you're gonna fight this guy. And then I was at Team Alpha Male a week, 2 weeks out. I had to actually leave training to go take care of social media work and filming, flying back again, and then train, cut weight, and actually fight. And I think the biggest thing there was the weight cut. I went there, I fought the guy, I beat him the first round, he came back in the second, and I was just done. But saying that, if I probably had the right cornerman and the right people around me, I would have probably won the fight. But me saying that, I don't take anything away from the cornerman I did have, but it's just different styles, if you know what I mean. Yeah. They believe XYZ works and we believe ABC works. Sure. So if I train ABC every day of my life and then I go and I get told to do XYZ, of course it's going to drain me, it's going to take from me. Yeah, sure. So I went there, I got in the fight, and I did exactly what the cornerman said to me. They said, do XYZ. I went, I did XYZ, and I gassed myself. But that's not their fault. My weight cut was bad, so that's all on me. But also, if I had the right cornerman around me, they weren't gonna tell me to do XYZ. Yeah. I would have done ABC. Approach. You know what I mean? So saying that it's just a learning curve. There wasn't really like preparation for it at all. Just actually like popped up when I was there.
Okay. He also wants to ask a question, and I think it's a question I would ask, and a lot of people want to know is a lot of talk between yourself and Zulu Boy, and would you ever be open to that fight?
You know, actually, there's not a lot of talk with the fight between me and Zulu Boy. There's actually not that much talk. It's just every time Zulu gets put on a camera, he wants to bring that up. Because without me, he's actually not valid. Without me, people, you talk about Zulu, no one is entertained. You talk about JP and Zulu, everyone's like, wow. So like, he's fishing for that, but there's never been much talks about it. Me and him, we did have our time where things were supposed to be settled. Yeah. Things happened. It's everyday life that happened. In the meanwhile, I moved on to bigger things. He stayed at the same place. And now everyone has this double champion stuff in their mind. Every second guy, you go ask the guy at the robot what he wants to be, he's gonna tell you a 2-division champion. Like everybody just wants to be a 2-division champion. Where I'm not up for that. You come in my division, beat me, take my title. Wow, you're the king. I beat a guy smaller than me. Oh no, like wow, like you were supposed to beat him because you're bigger than him.
Sure. So all the risk is on you.
All the risk is on me. But at the end of the day, like, if the money is right, if the stuff is right, if the timing is right, then there can always be a possibility for a fight. But other than that, I don't have any interest of fighting anyone outside of my division.
Cool.
He wants to fight me for my belt, then relinquish your belt and move up a division.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, interesting one. And I think Zulu might be facing a similar scenario to you, where maybe the division is a bit thin, so they're looking for alternate answers. But anyway, let's see how that all plays out. At Laney 552 wants to know, how many donuts does it take to be a champion?
All of them. All of the donuts. All of them, except when it's time to fight, then there's no donuts.
And then Smith Marius wants to know, is UFC on the cards, and how do you plan on getting there?
UFC is always on the cards, but it doesn't just come to us. Yeah. We actually got to go and fetch it.
Sure.
When I lost the fight in the Contender Series, I'm busy and I'm good friends and managing all of that with Uriah Faber. He's actually the guy that spoke to me and said, you need to move up a division. I then took that, I spoke to my head coach, and we took the approach of moving up a division and fighting in the different division. He told me that I'm ready for the big league. He told me. Yeah. And mentally I feel that I am as well. If UFC has to come to South Africa tomorrow, I have zero doubt that I'll be fighting on their card. But it doesn't just come to us. So he told me, get a few wins and we'll try again. So I'm currently riding a 2-fight win streak. Beat Biko, hopefully something comes up. Otherwise, if it doesn't, just keep beating people but still making contacts internationally. So the approach the approach I take is I win the fight. After winning the fight, I go back to Team Alpha Male, still in the public eye, make sure I get seen, train with the best, outwork them, and then I get seen. So that's basically the approach that I'll be taking.
100%, man, and I think that's all the questions that you're gonna get attacked with from online. And anyways, man, thanks so much for your time. We look forward to seeing you back in action in the UFC. It's been a little minute, but it's great to see that unification fight happening, and I think it's going to be a pretty good fight. I think it's going to be a lot of interesting questions to be answered. I think I'm excited to see the progression that you've made. The progression we saw from the fight before to the Guns Out fight was surreal to me. It obviously speaks volumes to what's going on here at Apex under Coach Kwan, and I'm really excited to see the next step in your evolution, and hopefully the next step into the UFC. And all the best for the new year, man. Thanks very much for your time, and
thank you.
Chat to you soon,
The
man.
Big Al Podcast with your host, Al Bishop, unfiltered and uncut.